Hey everyone,
Hey,
welcome to the Hobby Collab.
welcome.
Yeah, it's Sunday and we're painting wood today.
Yes.
Yeah, we locked Zach out of the room so he can't stop us. We can paint trees however we want. Yeah, so we're actually going to be doing a couple things today, right? Do you want
Yeah.
to maybe tell them what we're doing first?
Sure. Yeah. This is cool. We're gonna paint all different kinds of wood. Suri and I were talking before the stream. I think there's a lot of ways you can make wood look good, but we've got some cool tips for different types of wood, sort of more natural, tree bark kind of wood.
Yeah.
Sort of more manufactured buildings, wood that's been processed, spear shafts, things like that.
Right.
And so we're gonna go through kind of our thoughts on how you might get a cool look for each of these types of woods. Show you some inspiration that we found for this kind of stuff. And, and we'll do a variety. This will be like sort of a variety stream. We've got
a whole bunch of stuff.
A bunch of different models that we're gonna step you through and paint over and it all goes really fast. So we're gonna shift around a lot today. So
yeah, we have a buffet of models here. I think is how I would describe it. All sorts of stuff. But
yeah,
if you're enjoying this stuff, you got to do our thing.
Yeah.
Please like the show. Appreciate that. If you
subscribe to the channel.
Subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends. Yeah. Tell your friends about our wood.
That's right.
And if you want to donate to us, we'd appreciate it. You can tell us what's what in chat.
Yeah, we've got a poll running right now, which will end in a little bit.
I think we're gonna end at 10:30. Our time, so do the conversion.
Yeah.
To your time.
So get your votes in now, as far as what color trees are.
I don't know if you checked the poll. There's only brown. It's brown, brownish, and brownish.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots of different types of trees, and let us know what color they are.
Yeah, redwood's brown. Actually, turns out. Let's talk about inspiration though.
Yes.
And I'll find the inspiration button right here. All right, so you're gonna go first.
Yeah, this is a YouTube short that I found by a creator called Swords and Brushes, and they've done an awesome job of adding. Really, painting wood is about getting contrast, both in terms of saturation as well as value. And so you want sort of light things next to dark things. You want saturated things next to desaturated things. And some models come with really good sort of lines built into them, wood grain lines that you can use to help you get, use washes and contrast paints to get down into those recesses and help you achieve those sort of sharp transitions between high contrast, high value, low value, and high contrast, low contrast.
Yeah.
And so that can help a lot. But for things like this spearman, the wood on the shaft of this spear, there's no lines. There's no on the model.
Yeah.
There's no sort of modeled in recesses that you can use for getting to allow you to use things like washes and contrast paints. And so you have to, with a brush, very sort of finely draw on these lines to give you that visual interest. And so we've got a couple different kinds of models that we're going to do today, but this sort of approach of adding those lines to a spear shaft was really sort of eye-opening to me to see you can sit there and it's not too time consuming. Yeah. And then apply a wash at the end to kind of bring it all, tie it all together. And it really does look neat.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. That little bit of extra work goes a long way.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to be, my inspiration is one of my normal inspirations, Cult of Paint. Really cool YouTube channel. You should check them out as well. So they went with, I think this was Rich from their channel. I don't remember. The idea being that, this wood may have had a manufactured look to it before, but because it's stuck out in the elements, it kind of almost reverts back. It's got this real desaturated, something we're going to talk about, saturated wood versus desaturated wood. Yeah. But this kind of reverts back to this desaturated, almost gray and brown color When I'm sure, at some point this would have probably treated, it was probably, more of a reddish brown. But yeah, the environment kind of reclaiming that.
And this is, like you said, this is very desaturated, but there's lots of contrast here in value. There's
Yes.
dark areas and light areas, even if they're all very desaturated.
Yes, and there is saturation in the greens. Like there's a little
Right.
bit of green in there you can see.
Yeah.
Versus like the very desaturated grays and browns.
I love it.
Cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
So
we've got
that's
a
our
couple,
inspiration.
couple different techniques we'll show you for achieving different looks.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Okay.
And then what models are we going to work on?
Oh, so yes,
switch
I
over?
mentioned a buffet of models. You've got a little bit of everything.
Okay.
So I'm gonna let me zoom
That's fine.
out
I
for
can,
you.
I can slide these over.
All right. So
So these-
can you scoot that water bottle out of
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
I thought I was doing
I think I zoomed out.
solid, but okay. So we've got a couple trees here, and these are 3D printed models. If you look in the description, we should have a link to where we got these from.
Mm-hmm.
They're 3D prints, and there's terrain, and they come with some really cool ridges on these models. So this one that I'm spinning here is a upscaled model designed for a Star Wars Endor table.
Yeah.
So it's meant to have Ewoks running around. But we've sort of upscaled it and printed it for use on a forest board. Could be any sci-fi or fantasy setting. And then this guy here is a different model from a different company, and they it needs to have some leaves added, which we'll do later, or it could just be a dead tree, which is cool too. But it also has some really nice texture on the surface, so you can see there that will take to dry brushing really well. So that's the technique we're going to use for this first project, and we're going to do a couple projects today.
Yeah.
So Saray, you're going to take this guy.
Yes. So
right?
I get the cool willowing
spooky tree.
Spooky tree.
Yeah, for sure.
It is very spooky.
Yeah.
And you get the big redwood.
Yeah, and for these models, we're not going to, despite our poll, we're not going to use any browns.
Right.
So we're going to use this is a sort of a 3-step process. We're going to do first, we're going to use dry brushes. So we've got some big craft store brushes, and we're basically just going to dry brush against the grain in a series of colors. First, we're going to do like a dark red. Then we're going to do a dark green. And then we're going to do, 1, 2, and then 3. And then last is a dark orange, sort of a rusty orange.
Yeah.
And then if we feel like we've added too much too many saturated colors, we can go back over it with a gray.
Sweet.
It's kind of like a bring it back down kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, since we've got black, we're not. And then the last step is an airbrush step. We're going to airbrush like a dark green wash to the bottom third of the model to sort of suggest that there's like moss growing there or something like that. And we're going to do all this over black primer. We're not going to do any sort of base coat color.
Yeah. No zenithal, nothing fancy.
Zenithal, yeah. So let's do it. I've got one little bit of touch up to do. I noticed I filled this vent hole in the 3D print with some Milliput and never actually came back around to filling it in. So I'm going to do that. And then let's. We don't even really need palettes.
Yeah, not yet.
We can just put the paint right down on the
table.
On the paper, yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay? Do you think?
Yeah.
Zach's not here, so
he can't stop us.
Can't tell us what to do.
All right, I'm gonna go with
Which
one? What am I feeling here?
Yeah, Soups. If you have been a fan of the channel for a while, you will recognize these trees. We have painted these trees before. These I'm going to use for my Malifaux table.
Oh, cool.
So that's why like one tree are actually like enough for a small board like Malifaux.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm gonna go with this Scarlet Blood.
Yeah.
So I've never painted trees like this. I don't think I've ever painted trees ever. So this is all
cool.
This is all new to me.
Yeah, that's a good color. That's a very bright red.
Yes.
Actually, our friend Izzy turned me on to that color. He uses it for his super red Tau.
Oh,
He's got Farsight Enclaves, and he uses that's his red of choice.
I mean, he's kind of famous for his Tau.
Kind of famous for his Tau, and he's famous for his red Tau specifically. So I think I'm starting with the darkest red, which is which is Fire Red by Vallejo. It's a model air color, and I actually really like this color. It's one of my. It's like a very dark brick red almost.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say it's almost like terracotta-esque.
Terracotta-esque. Yeah, I like it both as a base coat for brighter reds, but also even just on its own for, like you said, bricks or it's a cool color for if you want to paint something that's armor, an accent color on like armor or something like that. It's cool because it's pretty. I like that dark red look.
Yeah, it's not like too powerful, right?
Yeah, it's not blood. You're not going to use it to paint your blood angels, but like if you're going for like a chill, slightly desaturated, little like toned down kind of red.
Yeah, just a little bit of red. Maybe it's like some.
That.
Looks like it'd be good for like guard if you wanted to paint their cloth red.
Yeah, some kind of red guard thing. So if you're starting with a darker color, you can go a little heavier on the dry brush because it's okay if it gets down in the recesses. As you sort of get to the brighter, more saturated tones that we're going to be using today, you want to be a little bit more careful with where the paint's going because you want it to just kind of land on those highlights.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do a comparison in a moment. Just whoop.
Man down. What was that?
I think that was my. That was my model holder, and it exploded. It looks like.
Yeah, it sounded like it exploded into a lot lot of different pieces. Yeah. Hopefully everything's okay.
There was no model on it, so I think we're gonna be all right.
All right. Yeah, and I think one of the things so here's kind of the secret to this like are trees brown question. The brown is as a color is kind of not actually a color. And stay with me, I'll explain what I mean by this. Brown is if you take orange and desaturate it, you get brown.
Yeah.
So brown is when I say brown's not a color, what I mean is it's essentially orange, a desaturated orange. If you take the saturation slider and Photoshop, like select an orange hue and then drag the saturation slider all the way to the left, you end up with brown. So what you can do to sort of have your tree, in this case, read as brown, is you can start with some really saturated colors like reds and oranges and yellows and greens. And when you mix them all together, especially on top of a black base coat, which is you end up with it reading sort of desaturated and looking like brown.
Right.
So
yeah, brown. I mean, and like brown is, it's like any other color, right? There's so many shades of brown.
Yeah.
Right. There's yellowy browns. There's reddish browns. There's green browns. I think I even have a color over here, green brown. Right? It's like it could be anything.
Okay, so if you want your tree to sort of read as brown from a distance, you can just add all of these component colors, greens and oranges and reds, and then desaturate it slightly, either by adding whites and blacks to brighten it or darken it, or in this case, we're just doing it over a black base coat.
Yeah.
Then it reads as brown from a distance, which is kind of what we're after. But then when you get close, you get all these cool variations in terms of like where the red didn't quite cover up the green. You get a little green showing through, and it adds some visual interest, which is neat.
Cool. So I'm gonna let you lead me on this. How am I doing?
You're doing great. Yeah. Should we put that on the?
Yeah. Let's throw it on
the camera and show it off.
Yeah. So we can show the difference between these two shades of red we've gone with.
Yeah. So mine is much more subtle. You almost can't even tell that I've done anything to it.
Maybe turn it up towards the light, maybe you can tilt it. Yeah.
There you go. You can see a little bit of the red showing through there. But Saray, like yours is very
I went for it.
Yours is very obvious. That's cool. But as we add greens and other colors to it, that'll tone right back. It'll come right back and look a lot sort of more subtle as we add other colors on top. All right, let's do that now.
Yeah, let's do it. We got a super chat.
Awesome.
All right. Super ready. Super ready. Soups, we know. Wait, hold on. Let's go. Wait, so no Zach being stuck in the being a stick in the mud, and still no Brown. I thought you'd be branching out. Oh my gosh. Let's get to the root of this decision.
I love it. All the puns, all the brown tree puns.
Man, he's too good at this.
It's like
I'm wondering, does like Zach let him know like a week ahead, so you can just plan?
Get it off. No, I think this is his superpower. Soups just comes up with this stuff on the fly.
Okay.
I love it.
So you're gonna continue with red.
I'm gonna go with a slightly lighter shade of red as my second step.
Is that something I should do? Or?
No, I think you started with the lighter red, and I think that's fine.
Okay.
I was hoping this dark red would cover a little better, if I'm honest. So I'm compensating for that by now doing a second step of lighter red. But since your red covered wonderfully the first time around, you don't need to do this.
Sweet. All right, I'm wondering.
Jump right in.
I'm wondering if I should go.
With
So I went
with the brighter green.
So I went with a pretty bright red last time. So I'm wondering, should I go with a darker green this time?
It's a good thought. Yeah.
I think I'll do it. And if I don't like it, I'll just do what you're doing and go with the second layer.
Go with that second coat of it. Yeah.
This is a little. There's not much in here. Do you want me to? I could probably borrow some.
No,
of
you do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I tell you a funny story. When I first decided to sort of commit to Vallejo paints.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I got I think I got a starter set. I think I got like a Vallejo.
Oh wait, yeah, I did too.
Like,
yeah.
They had like an 8 paint or 12 paint starter set or something. I was like, this will just kind of get me going, and I'm not going to be shy about adding to this.
Yeah.
This collection that I'm building of paints, but like, I'm going to start with. I just want like one of every color.
Yeah.
And I can tweak it up and down with, by mixing a little bit if I need to, or I can just buy it in other colors. But I wanted to just like have one of everything as a starting point.
Right.
And so that green is a green that came in the starter set.
Wow. Okay.
And so I've just been looking, and this was, 4 years ago now, 5 years ago. And so I'm looking for excuses to use it up, basically. Like all the colors that are like green.
Right.
And there's like no descriptors. It's literally just like red. You're like, oh, that's the starter set.
Flat green. Yeah, I think I have some Vallejo. They have dark green, intermediate green, and then light green.
And then light green, yeah.
Okay. I mean, they work well together, but
yeah. So it's cool to use those kinds of things for terrain. You're like, oh, I don't actually care what shade of red this is.
Yeah, I just need
it to be generally red.
Yeah.
Great thing to use up on your terrain projects.
All right.
And every once in a while, it's like, oh, that is exactly the red I want.
Yeah. You're like, oh, do I need to buy more of this, or I don't know if I want.
Yeah, exactly. Do I need to commit to buying more of this like very basic base color?
All right.
Probably not.
So yeah, I see what you're saying. So mixing these, I mean, red and green together, kind of, they're what, complementary colors, right? So
you worry that it's going to look like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, but this is like
they layer on top of each other and end up like looking pretty good.
Yeah, it looks like an interesting brown. Is what I would say.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're after. Like you could achieve a very similar effect with brown paint, but it would not have anywhere near the sort of level of visual interest that you get by sort of making your own, doing the DIY brown.
Yeah.
Of like adding reds and greens and oranges.
Well, I feel like this comes up every time we're on a show together. Mm-hmm. Is you can't. It's hard to be random. It's hard to make randomness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when you have these colors mixing, right, you're ultimately making a brown.
Right.
But because you're a human and you can't do everything perfectly, a lot of the red is going to end up showing through.
Right.
Some areas are going to be more green.
And that's a feature. That's not
exactly.
That's not like it's not something to be sad about.
Yeah.
That's like what you're going for, in fact.
Yeah, so you end up with this kind of imperfect. Yeah. Nature's not perfect, right? Nature's full of imperfections. So,
yeah.
Or I wouldn't say imperfections, but variation.
Accidents.
Yeah.
Variation. That's a great way of describing it. And this is one of the things. I mean, we talk about this on our terrain shows, but one of the things that terrain makes painting terrain amazing is both how quick it goes, how good it looks,
Yeah.
and how little sort of mental energy you have to put in.
Yeah.
like you don't have to think about this.
No,
You almost can do it. You can
slapping
almost do
it.
it without even looking at it. You were just like sitting here rubbing a brush on a piece of plastic terrain, and it's like, you're not even really caring where the paint's going. And yeah, natural, I guess, sort of manufactured terrain is a little different in that. Like, it has the humans have sort of delineated where the rock bits are, and the wood bits are, and the metal bits are. But like, this is all just one material.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Okay, shall we take a quick break and?
Yeah. I'm already done with the next step.
Yeah, exactly.
I might just because out of curiosity, I might add some of that brighter green just because I want to see where it goes. Yeah,
Okay.
look at that, chat. Look at this. You can see, I mean, just there, you can see that variation in red and green, and it's like, oh, well, it looks kind of brown, but
Yeah, that looks great. Amazing. Yeah, wonderful job. You almost don't even like the last step where we were at, where it was sort of very bright red. It looked a little. It's like a trust the process moment.
yeah.
So I'm at that place now. You can see I've added the brighter red, and this looks like a red tree. But I'm gonna then switch over next to the green that we just talked about, and it'll bring it back down.
Cool. All
right.
Yeah, this is fun. I like this. We should paint more. I should get into painting more terrain.
Painting more terrain. It's super chill.
Yeah.
Super relaxing.
So I've actually painted terrain, but it wasn't like natural. It wasn't nature. So
Right.
I went pretty hard on the like. Okay, I've got to do all these steps, and
Yeah.
it was fun. It was easy, but it was like a lot of steps. Maybe we should make a stream about that one day.
What's that?
I'll get you guys to paint my my Zone Mortalis terrain.
Oh, we can do. Yeah, I definitely want to do Zone Mortalis with you, sir.
Yeah.
I backed a Kickstarter that was like alternate races Zone Mortalis.
Oh, interesting.
So the guy, he made the Imperial.
Huh?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Oh.
We backed the. He made the Imperial Zone Mortalis, or not like the boarding actions turn.
Right. Oh, I see what you're
He
saying.
did the Imperial one. That's like an Imperial spaceship. But then he also, as the stretch goals, and they all got unlocked, he did 2 more races. So he did like a boarding actions terrain that's Necron themed and one that's Tau themed.
Oh, that's fun.
And so it's like all the same, sort of everything's the same size. It's meant to interact with the rules in the same way. It just is
Just different theme.
different theme, yeah. And so I've printed a bunch of these.
Oh,
and I'm
yeah. We should
excited
definitely.
to have a reason, an excuse to paint them.
I'm gonna ask chat. Would you be interested in some Zone Mortalis terrain painting? I don't really care what you say, if I'm being honest, because I want to do it. But you can let me know if you're excited about it too.
Yeah. Okay, so are you gonna do a second green color?
So I'm gonna do. Yeah, I'm curious what this will look like, and I'm gonna try and focus this towards the bottom, kind of like you were thinking.
Yeah, and I would caution you against doing too much, because I like sort of the ratio of red to green. I think is really good on the model you've got there. And so if you put on too much green, it'll completely override the red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Word of
with
warning.
with a light touch.
Yeah. So I'm gonna focus this towards the bottom.
That's a good idea. Soups has pointed out that it seems we've missed a super chat.
Oh, did we? Oh, sorry about that. This one I got Soups for.
Do some scrolling.
Oh, there we go. Molecule Cody says, Brett's bountiful buffet of brown branches begins.
That's I love it. That's what we're doing today. That's what the stream title should have been.
Should have been. We'll change it.
Bountiful buffet of brown branches. Love it. Yeah, so then at the end of this, we have an airbrush fairy who is going to hop in, take these models from us after we're done with our dry brushing adventure, and is standing by at the ready to airbrush these for us with a dark green wash down near the bottom.
Cool.
And so then as we move on to the next project, Meg is going to do that for us, and then we'll be able to show you what these look like at the end of that sort of final step.
Yeah. All right. So I added just a little bit of green, and I like how it came out. Just a little bit of green towards the bottom. I'll show everyone in a moment.
Very cool. Yeah, and then so after the green, the last step is an orange. Got a couple oranges here.
Oh man, there's so many. It's
And I think I'm gonna start with this orange
You're gonna-
rust color.
okay. You're gonna go orange rust. I'm curious about this yellow ochre. This is almost more of a
Yeah.
well, yellow.
Yeah, sure.
Although gold yellow is kind of interesting too.
That one's quite bright.
Yeah, I was gonna say
we
that
could-
might be-
We could do that as a final step.
Yeah, maybe we'll
But it's also, it doesn't cover amazingly, and so if
as
you
yellows do.
as yellows do, right? So that is a feature here. So
Yeah.
you can use a brighter, higher contrast color, if it doesn't cover great. 'Cause
Okay.
then it's gonna sort of blend in with everything else.
So with this, should I be going a little bit lighter?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
So
keep this one.
so this one should be a light touch, and try to just get the tips of the ridges,
Gotcha. Okay.
just the tips of the ridges.
Just the tips of the wood.
Yeah. And
I'm gonna hold
for the
it. I'm gonna
optimal
hold
effect.
it real light far
Oh, yeah.
back, so it'll be just.
This is how Europeans paint.
I asked Soups. He told me this is how he paints.
Yeah. It's how you learn after all the proper training and certifications.
We should do some. What's the term when you're painting outside? En plein air.
What? On plein air?
En plein air. Oop,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Chat. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's a term for like painting outside. I think it's en plein air.
It sounds French.
It probably is. Okay.
How does that yellow treating you?
It's
The ochre.
pretty subtle, and I think it's working.
Yeah, I like that. You're basically getting like little edge highlight almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm able to go a little bit more aggressive because my orange is darker. But I think I actually might do a final step with the yellow in
Gotcha.
the same way that you're doing. This orange I'm almost using to kind of just tie in the red and the green. The colorations on the tree were sort of I could sort of see a little, like mine didn't blend as well as yours
Right,
for whatever
okay.
reason. I was getting sort of red patches and green patches, and so the orange, and when you add it in, kind of blends the two a little bit.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense, especially since this orange is an air paint.
Yeah, it's like super thin.
It's very thin, and so it doesn't cover super well, which again in this instance is a feature.
All right.
Okay, cool. Last step, I'm gonna use some of this ochre that you've got
Sweet.
and paint on plein air.
En plein air. We gotta. If we open a window, is that painting outside? Is that like the same thing? Okay. So I've got the yellow on there. I've got the green.
Yeah, should we? You want me to show it
Yeah,
off?
let's show it off.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Wow, that looks great. Look at all that like color variation. That's awesome.
Yeah, and you can just see the yellow on some of the edges.
Yeah, you can see the green,
especially up top.
the more
Yeah.
saturated green at the bottom.
Yeah.
I think it looks awesome. That
That's
looks great.
Okay, and then yeah, the last step. Once when you decide when you're done, but the airbrushing step with a wash
Okay,
also sort of serves to kind of tie it all together.
gotcha. And I think we'll just have our airbrush fairy do those.
That's right.
At the same time.
Yep.
All right, I'm very curious. I want to just see if I can add some of this yellow just in a couple of areas. I want to see.
This is the bright.
This is the brighter yellow that.
This is I bought that because.
Oh, sorry. They're just looking at an empty. I forgot to change it back.
That color I picked up because I got the feedback again from our friend Israel. I took one of his painting classes at one point, and he pointed out to me that I was trying to add yellow to an orange to use as an edge highlight. So I was painting a model that was orange,
Right.
and I was adding yellow to it to use as an edge highlight. And And I brought a yellow, knowing that like, oh, yellow, adding, yellow makes
Yeah.
a good edge highlight for orange. I brought my yellow paint, but it was the yellow paint that came in the starter set. So like it was a very cool yellow, if that
Right.
makes sense, sort of like an ice yellow
Yeah.
almost. And Izzy was like, this is bad. He wagged his finger at me. He was like, no, you want, for edge highlighting of an orange, you want a very warm yellow, almost
Yeah.
like a goldenrod or something
Yeah.
like that. And so I didn't have anything. I was like, oh, I guess I gotta
go
go
buy
buy
some.
yeah. So that's why I ended up with that paint, and I've since found I use it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually really like that color. Okay, this is I'm pretty done.
Okay.
So this is here. I'm gonna put this over here. This is
Oh,
where
wow,
I've
yeah.
ended up.
Look at that.
And it's got a lot of color
Pretty.
variation.
Incredible.
Yeah. So this will take well to a wash with either some combination of like a sepia wash or a dark green wash, and down near the bottom, probably a sepia wash over the whole thing, and then dark green wash just down at the bottom.
Great.
All right.
Here, and I'll give you mine. So
Sure.
I ended up taking that brighter yellow and just kind of focusing it on the areas of the where I put the brighter green.
Yeah.
So it almost like
Nice.
highlighted the brighter green.
Highlighted the brighter green. Yeah. That's very cool.
Awesome.
Okay. Cool. All right. So we'll set these aside.
Yes.
At some point, our airbrush fairy, when she
Is available.
has time availability, can swoop in and take these from us.
Yeah, see, en plein air.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you, Zell Nasty, for the memberships. Appreciate it. We like those. Oh, was there another? There wasn't another super chat, was there? It was just the one that he was talking. Okay, cool. We didn't miss something. Yeah, those look. That looks
Cool.
great.
So what time is it? That was about a half hour with our intro. Maybe we say 20 minutes of work.
Pretty quick. And I mean, we were talking, and you were
talking.
showing, and
Chit chatting and teaching. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And we've got a neat tree
sweet.
at the end of it. So moving on to our next
Yeah,
project.
I'm actually gonna end the poll. Oh wow! At the last second, literally seconds before I
brownish.
Brown, you can just
There you
walk.
go.
You can
There you go.
walk, Meg. You don't have to. You don't have to hide.
Thank you, Meg.
Someone changed their vote, so brownish actually wins. Trees are not brown.
Yes.
They're brownish.
Brownish.
Yeah,
It's facts.
that's facts.
Here.
Looks like Zach
Scientific
wins
data
again.
has come in, and trees are not in fact
Not brown. Zach
Brownish.
wins another one for Zach.
All right. So for our next project, we're going to be doing something a little bit different.
Yes.
I've got these. They're called the MDF wood kits. This
Yes.
is made by a company called Micro Art Studio.
I'll let you continue.
And they are.
Water.
Oh yeah. The name. It's an MDF kit. I pre-assembled it and primed it. And here, I'll put these on the camera here. And then there we go. So these are the name of the kit is called 19th Century Stands, and I like this kit a lot. It adds it gives you sort of like a town square vibe. Again, these are going to be part of a Malifaux terrain set, so the 19th century part of it kind of fits. But this is interesting because they come with laser cut with some wood grain in them, which is kind of cool. It'll allow us to do a little bit of shortcut when where it comes to painting these wood boards on the top. We can use some contrast or washes to help accentuate that wood grain, but it's not all over the model. So like down here on the base and these upward facing struts, these don't have any of that. So I have to do some of the manual painting of those elements with a hand brush. Those will be sort of freehandy.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to be working on. What are you going to be working on?
So I'm gonna grab one of these Dryads you brought.
Oh yeah.
I haven't decided which one. I think I'm gonna start with a darker brown one. This has got a bit of a red brown going, but I'll probably end up covering some of that.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a Dryad. I've never painted a Dryad. I'm gonna go for I think swampy
Yeah.
swampy-ish vibe. Maybe a little more like a dead tree.
So fans of the old world will and AOS will recognize, well, fans of AOS will recognize that this is the current Dryad model.
Mm-hmm.
But fans of the old world will recognize that they are, in fact, on square
bases.
So this is exciting because this is for an army that I've had for 20 plus years.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm waiting for Old World to come
Ooh.
back. So I'm not rebasing that. But yeah, this is, I think, the current Dryad kit, but on the wrong shape base.
But the right shape for the future.
That's right.
That is the past.
That is also the past.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, cool. So, yeah, I had to go get us some water. You can't have trees without water.
Yeah, we have to grow the tree.
We had to grow these models before. Oh, my colors are over here. So I have this dark rust. Mm-hmm. I'm not actually sure if that's what I want to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what color Skaven Blight Dinge is? It's kind of like a...
Never heard of it.
I'm going to go see if Zach has some.
Skaven Blight Dinge.
For two reasons. One, because I'm running out of this dark rust.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'll have enough to cover it. And two, because I think Skaven Blight Dinge might be a more appropriate color.
Yeah. So typically when I paint processed wood like this this fruit stand here, I start with something that's quite saturated. So it's a brown, but it is a sort of a saturated brown. So this is called orange brown. I also have another one I like to use called red leather. So this is a little more orange. The red leather is a little more red. And I'll start with it. It has a lot of sort of that tone in it, either orange or red. And it definitely does not look brown when you put it on. It looks sort of very orangey or very red.
Yeah.
And then I'll add a wash over top of it or some contrast paint to get, and this is specifically for models with some sort of texture on the model. So add the contrast paint or the wash. It'll get down in the recesses. It'll also sort of tint the base color that I've applied and desaturate it effectively. So so I want to start with something that has a higher level of saturation than I normally would imagine the finished product having.
Right.
So I started with something that's very saturated, and then when I add that wash to get down into the recesses, it has the secondary effect of desaturating it. So that's why I start with
What am I doing today?
something that's a little overly red or overly orange. This is very similar to the recipe I use for like leather as well.
Oh, interesting.
And so actually I've struggled in models with that have both sort
Wood
of
and leather.
wood and leather. They just end up looking the same
Right.
a lot of the time. But I typically will differentiate in the color that I dry brush after. So I'll do a third
Gotcha.
step, apply the base coat, apply a wash, and then dry brush or some kind of edge highlight. And I'll typically differentiate wood from leather based on the color of the edge highlight or dry
Gotcha,
brush that I
okay.
do at the end.
Yeah, I found that when I'm painting stuff that is maybe brown or something that's close to a leather color,
Yeah.
I just have to end up doing black leather. So
Oh, interesting.
I had to figure out a black leather recipe. So
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
This model by Micro Art Studio, I really love. I had not experimented much with MDF kits until I started down this Malifaux adventure, and that really kind of got me looking into MDF terrain kits, and TT Combat definitely wins for sort of value, amount of terrain you get per dollar spent. But their terrain kits tend to be a little bit, now it varies, but sort of speaking generally here, their terrain kits tend to be a little bit light on detail.
yeah,
And you can supplement that, which is kind of what I did, adding like a texture paint to stucco walls that are meant to sort of be stucco colored, or you can paint on details as well. You can add posters to the sides of the buildings. You can add sort of battle damage, or, wear and tear kind of effects. And so you can up the level of detail on the kit that way. But this one from Micro Art Studio didn't have that problem at all. It came with so much detail in here And I didn't bring it, but they even come with little sort of boxes that you're meant to put on these display racks here that you could put little pieces of fruit in.
yeah.
It didn't come with the fruit, but it came with the little boxes.
It's green stuff,
And
some little
it's
oranges
still
or
all
something.
yeah, you're right. It's still all laser cut MDF, which is crazy to me. Like the thinness, the fineness of those components is off the charts. So I don't know if they're using a different stock material that can be laser cut more finely, or if they just have, you know, some kind of they've tuned their machines better or something. I'm not quite sure, but it's really impressive how they're able to achieve that level of detail.
Yeah, I mean, TT Combat feel like is maybe geared more towards the competitive. Let's
Sure.
play. Let's get a board up and
Yep.
and going.
They're branching out though. They do have some other lines that are more detail oriented, and they've got their own board. They've got their own game out now.
Oh,
which
interesting.
I forget the name of it, but it's very similar in theme to Malifaux. It's like 19th century, but it takes place in Venice.
Oh,
So
interesting.
they've got this whole line of buildings that you can build this like whole table with canals and, you know, buildings on the canals, and it's
Right.
all raised up like 2 or 3 inches.
Uh-huh.
So you buy a water mat, and then you put these like these like brick sort of superstructures on the water mat to denote where the foundations are, and then you
Right.
put the buildings on top of
That's
those.
really cool.
And they've got a whole game that is meant to be like, the plot of the game is like 19th century Venice, like gang wars almost.
Oh, cool.
And it has a very similar vibe to Malifaux, and the train works very well with Malifaux.
That sounds right up my alley.
Sounds neat, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'm just base coating this this Dryad with some dark rust, which is a kind of desaturated. Well, I don't know if it's that desaturated. A dark brown.
Yeah.
So I've already broken the rules.
Well, I think what we talked about at the start applies here. That like, if it's growing and it's got like other stuff growing on it, it's got moss and it's got
Yeah.
insects and it's got, you know, like other lichens and things like that. Like, starting out without, you know, trying to avoid using actual brown paint can add a lot of visual interest. But for other types of wood, like, the recipe can differ.
Yeah.
And
There's the bubble.
and it adds some visual interest. Like, since this fruit stand is going to be on the same board with these trees that we just painted, having them look different and be painted with a different recipe is good, because it means that they'll look different. They'll stand out from one another on the table.
Yeah. I think the important, I mean, we say that we have this, like, trees aren't brown meme. I think the important thing is that trees aren't one color.
Sure, yeah.
That's the real.
And you want it to read as brown, but you
Yeah.
want it to have all of those colors
Yes.
be present.
So I'm starting with a brown, but I'm going to be adding, you know, tans, khakis,
Sure.
grays. And
Got it.
So it's going to end up being a lot of different colors.
Nice. And what is your thought behind this Dryad? Like, are you mentioned you wanted to kind of go with a swamp theme.
Yeah. So when I think of, like, trees in a swamp, or like a spooky tree, you know,
Right.
like a haunted swamp, spooky, something like that. So it's going to be desaturated grays.
Grays and greens, yeah.
Grays, and then some saturated greens that'll represent some, like, moss or something.
Right. Gotcha.
But I gotta get this base coat down first, and it's not covering as well as I'd hoped. I guess that the brown is the
brown
the
base.
previous color is just showing through pretty solidly.
Yeah, my 16-year-old Brett that painted these Dryads was enamored of the idea of having the Dryads, like, the army was meant to be sort of fall themed.
Yeah.
And so there was lots of oranges and reds and yellows, along with some greens and browns. But each Dryad was meant to be sort of a different tree type, a different stage of, like, fall color. And so I had each model was sort of its own unique exploration of tree color. And so there were a lot of different, there were some birch ones that were white.
Yeah.
and I played around with that a lot. In the end, it's a stylistic choice. You end up with an army that doesn't really look very cohesive, and so I tried to really use the basing as a way to kind of tie the models together.
Yeah.
I don't know how successful it was. 16-year-old me had some interesting ideas uh, about this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
It's a cool idea, I think, but you have to really be careful that you don't end up with a collection of individual models,
Right.
as opposed to a cohesive army.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of one of the one of the issues I'm running into with my Slaves to Darkness
Sure. Oh,
Rainbow
yes.
army is
Yeah.
like, every model's separate, but trying to make them look at least semi-cohesive is
Right.
like, it's a challenge. So you're having to find ways to, I mean, luckily, with Slaves to Darkness, excuse me, there's so many different things you can use to tie them
Right.
together. Like all the horses you can paint the same color.
Yep.
All the leather you can paint the same color.
Right.
But with the Dryad, it's like, well, it's all one material,
Yeah.
so it's a little bit more difficult.
The Dryad models also have these like runes carved into them, and so you can use some sort of energy effect or like glowing runes
Right.
kind of effect coming out of those cracks to kind of tie it together a
Right.
little bit. It's
Little
not going to add a lot because not even all the models have that, I think.
Yeah.
But
I guess they all
in
have
some
eyes,
cases-
right? They all have
all have
eyes
eyes.
that you can use to tie them together.
Yeah, so there are little cues like that you can use. All right. Well, I've got the base coat out. I'm gonna do a little bit more, and then I'm gonna switch over here in
Gotcha.
in a
Okay.
few minutes to, the main event.
The main event. I watched this video for inspiration, but I don't remember which step is next. I don't remember if it's a wash, or I think it's
Oh,
wash next.
Probably wash. Yeah.
Probably wash next. Well, we're gonna experiment. We're going off
Off the rails.
the rails. We're doing whatever we want today.
We're doing science.
Yep.
Stand back.
Watch out, everyone.
Surrey's trying science.
I do have to let this dry though, so
Okay.
I'm gonna read some chat. I know we missed a membership switch. Very generous, 10 memberships from Ron Bananas
Oh, wow.
99.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you for that very much. We appreciate it. If you aren't a member, you should consider it.
Yeah.
You get access to some Friday streams,
Yes.
which are solo streams where the streams are called journeys, where we're doing these like long form projects.
Yeah.
I just mentioned the Rainbow Slaves to Darkness Army. If you didn't
Yeah.
know what I was talking about, that's a show I do every other Friday, painting my Slaves to Darkness. And Zach is working on a board, a
terrain
spooky terrain board, just in
Yeah.
time for Halloween. So if you want to see that, you should consider becoming a member. Although this Friday, coming Friday, no Zach, no me. It's actually going to be Meg on.
We're gonna have a side journey.
Yes, detour, pit stop. I don't know
stop.
what our exact term is, but you might notice that Friday is the
The
13th.
date is significant.
Yes,
Yeah.
Friday the 13th in October.
Wow.
So Meg is going to be painting up something special.
I'm curious how often that happens.
Yeah, is it a common occurrence?
Someone in chat, can you do a quick Google search? How often does Friday the 13th happen in October?
Yeah, I
I'd
feel
be
like it's
curious to
happened
know.
before.
I'm sure it's happened before, but like it's one of those things
Yeah.
that like only happens once every 120
Yeah.
years.
So it is special. We're going to celebrate. She's going to be. Are we supposed to say, or is it supposed to
It's
be
a spooky themed.
Okay, it'll
side
be
journey.
spooky
Yeah,
and fun. Okay.
and it's Meg, and so if you are familiar with what she is excited about and working on, you might be able to make an educated guess.
Yes. I will say it is not Warhammer.
Ooh.
Not Warhammer. So
Okay.
you'll have to tune in Friday if you want to see.
Tune in Friday.
It's like every 5 or 6 years. Okay, yeah, that sounds about right.
All right.
And it's like, I'm pretty sure. All right, this is still drying. I looked it up. It's never happened before. Zach, I feel like you might be lying.
Well, join us on Friday, the
Yeah.
13th, for
For the
the
one-
first ever, only ever happened,
Yeah.
never happened before,
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th live stream.
Yeah. So we're talking about Old World. Do you think you're gonna? You said you're looking to play it potentially.
Yeah, weirdly, I am now getting second thoughts.
Oh, okay.
I think it was the last one of the recent streams.
Mm-hmm.
Zach was on. Was it you and Zach? I don't remember who it was. Talking about Old World, and I commented in chat. I was like, "Oh yeah, I still have my old Wood Elf army. I've not rebased them to play them as Sylvaneth. I particularly enjoy the elf part of the Wood Elf army, and so things like War Dancers and the Way Watchers, like that was kind of my jam. And I commented in that stream. I was like, "Oh yeah." Like we were talking about rank and flank, and I was like, actually, like I didn't particularly enjoy any of the rank and flankness of the game. I had played an army that was almost all skirmishers, which just play as sort of modern AOS does, with models within 1-inch coherency, and every kind of model is on its own. It doesn't really have a facing, and Zach pointed out in the stream, he was like, "Wait, so you played a rank and flank game and then played the one army that like doesn't rank and flank?" And that kind of, I was like, wait, he's right. And so now I'm like, am I actually excited for this game? Like, does AOS just like sort of scratch this fantasy itch for me in a way that doesn't like, where I don't have to deal with any of like the rank and flank nonsense, and I don't have to like come up with some clever, like honestly, I do like the Wood Elf army dynamics, and I like the lore of like elves running around in the woods.
Evil druids. Well, maybe not evil, but like not super nice druids.
Not super nice. Just
I'm pretty sure they eat people. Is that a thing? I think.
I don't know.
I feel like
not.
They definitely hunted people.
if they trespassed, they're just very like, stay off my lawn, get off my lawn, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, if AOS had actual elves that ran around in the woods as a faction, I would probably not be as excited about Old World as I am.
Right.
So it's literally just because AOS doesn't have my
because Sylvaneth kind of, they went, this is just nature now. It's not.
It's all these tree spirits. Yeah. And I don't mind the tree spirit portion of the Wood Elf army in Warhammer Fantasy Battles, but it was not what I leaned into.
Gotcha.
Yeah. War Dancer models were awesome. They were crazy. There was like giant mohawks and tattoos everywhere.
Yeah,
they were all like drugged up on like
mushroom
drugs
they found in the woods.
Dual wielding swords, and it was super super cool. They were like classic 80s GW aesthetic and amazing. And
we missed
it's sort of like there's a lot of crossover between, if you've never seen old Warhammer Fantasy Battle Wood Elf, like War Dancers, they share a lot in common with Harlequins, modern Harlequins. Yeah. In terms of their look and playstyle. They're just very hard-hitting melee units that run at you really fast and chop you to bits with
their swords.
A million tiny swords, yeah. Can't take a punch back, but good luck there being anything left to fight with after they charge at you.
All right, so I'm gonna apply this snake bite leather, which is brown. It's got like a bit of like orange and green to it. It's kind of an interesting color. So I'm gonna apply it all. I'm gonna thin this out. It's a little too strong coming out of the pot.
Can I ask you a favor, Ray?
Yes.
Do you have a paper towel?
Paper towel?
Can you get me some kind of a thing to rub my brush on?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, man, those War Dancers were amazing. They had this cool rule where they could, you get to choose each turn, like which dance they were going to do. And it was like, it had 4 different options. One was like a durability buff. Thank you. One was, more attack, so made them better at clearing chaff. One was, better rend.
Right.
So it made them better at fighting against, big durable stuff. And then I don't remember what the fourth one was. think maybe they had two different durability ones. One was like -1 to be hit in
Right.
melee, and the other was like a better save, vulnerable save or something
Right.
like that. So it was cool, and I really like that um, that game mechanic of like, here's a unit, they're a melee unit, but they like have these sort of different modes, and you can like flip them into different modes.
Yeah.
Um,
You might like Custodes.
oh yeah, with
They-
their karate.
by the
But they
turn.
have to like choose which karate at like the start of the game, right?
I think I haven't played them in 10th edition, but I think they changed it.
They changed that. Okay.
Yeah, I think it should just choose at the beginning of the turn.
Choose at the beginning of the turn what you want.
Yeah.
And it's army wide.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. See, this was like each unit gets to pick a thing to do, and they had this other sort of caveat, which was you couldn't pick the same dance to do. You were doing a dance.
Uh-huh.
You couldn't pick the same dance to do 2 turns in a row.
In a row, yeah.
So you couldn't just spend the whole game doing the same like.
Doing the cha-cha.
Yeah, you had to switch between the cha-cha and the
Twerking.
twerk. That's not what I was gonna say. Man, can you imagine what else twerking?
Twerking.
Yeah.
It's minus. What would that? Would that be -1 to hit?
Why?
Or would it be
+1
plus
charisma,
1? Yeah. +1 defense.
+1 defense. Okay, so I've done my base coating. I'm not gonna do the whole model today just for the sake of time. So I'm gonna focus next on this top section. I've got my orange-brown base coat down. I'm gonna do a contrast paint over top of this. Like I said,
Yay.
you can do a wash or a contrast.
Yeah.
Like either will work. So I brought a couple contrast paints today. I've got yellows, I've got oranges, but I think I'm gonna do one called hardened leather.
Okay.
So this is
So
just kind
we're
of
both using leather contrast paints.
yeah. Oh, are you as well?
Yeah, snake bite.
Okay.
Snake bite leather.
Oh, and yours is a contrast?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're
Great.
we're on the same track here.
Cool. All right. Start with a saturated color, desaturated with some brown. Actually, I like yours better.
Yeah, you want to use it?
Yes.
There you
Use
go.
Yours? All right. This is my first time using GW contrast paints. I've only ever tried
This army painter.
Army painter. Yeah.
Okay.
Soup says, turns out twerking already exists as a Space Marine stratagem. Only in death does booty end. Clever. I see what you did there.
Very clever.
I love it. I notice you put your contrast paint on the palette
Yes.
and are.
Normally, I would say don't do that.
How do you decide whether to just like dip into the pot like this versus putting it on a wet palette?
So if I need to
Am I
thin it,
committing heresy right now?
no, you're fine. If you need to thin it, I would probably put it in a well palette, but I didn't have one on
Okay,
hand, so
I
I
see.
just put it on
Are
a
you
wet palette.
thinning it? Your paint?
Yes.
Okay.
I thinned it because it was a little too strong. Because mine was a bit darker,
Okay. Yeah, you started out with a
Yeah.
dark base coat, right?
so I didn't want it to be too over. I didn't want it to be so dark.
Actually, one of the things I like about thinning here is you can get sort of some interesting variation. Like you don't want it to apply smoothly, and contrast is sort of known for its smooth application. And so what I'm doing, actually, I just had this idea. I'll clean my brush, and then it has sort of some water from the cup.
Yeah.
Now I'll just sort of like wipe off some of the contrast paint in a few areas after it's started to dry.
Yeah.
And that'll give it a little bit of color variation.
So there's a whole technique that involves that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's a
Wow.
Yeah.
Every time you think you're doing something clever, Saray's like, actually.
So Richard Gray, have you ever heard?
I mean, I'm familiar with the name.
Yeah, so he's a like a super talented Golden Demon painter, and he's been putting on these tutorials where he'll stipple something. So stipple something up, and then he'll apply a contrast paint over the entire thing. Oh, apparently there's a ad running. Can we skip that? Oh wait, we can skip ads. Hey, I think we can make the ads skip.
Oh,
That's fun. you can, or sorry, so he puts the whole contrast paint over the entire thing, and he grabs like brushfuls of contrast medium
Yeah.
and just wipes most of it away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like turning acrylics into oil washes almost.
Yeah. Except for you don't have the main advantage of oil washes, which is that you can go back almost
A
any
day
time.
later,
Yeah.
yeah.
These you have to do it pretty much
You
right
have to
after.
do it straight away, but you have the advantage of not having to deal with thinners and
Yeah, exactly.
caustic chemicals and stuff. Okay, yeah, that sounds like what I'm doing. I'm just not using medium. I'm using water.
Yeah, Richard Gray should sub to this channel so he can learn a thing or two.
That's right. Richard Gray.
Yeah. He could learn a lot from us, I'm sure.
I didn't do any stippling though.
Yeah.
But I'm achieving a similar effect, I think, by you're just after some color variation.
Yeah.
And I'm getting that by wiping off some of the paint after I've applied it.
Yeah. In a weird way, this is almost like a weathering step, right?
A weathering step, yeah. But like, wood has different. Yeah, we're weathering the wood a little bit. I guess that's a great way of thinking about it. Now, I'm used to working with army paint or speed paints that wipe off much easier.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to
There
get
was a
as
whole-
much paint off of here as I'd like.
There's a whole controversy around that. Yeah, if you want to use the medium, maybe it'll reactivate it easier.
Nah, it's
Although I
okay.
guess it's just because of the divots, huh?
I'm getting there. I'm just having to sacrifice my brush a little bit. I'm doing this thing where I like push the brush like against the bristles to sort of give it a little more stiffness to like. Right?
We have some stiffer brushes here.
Not using my $20 Raphael.
Yeah, maybe don't do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Let's say in 2 minutes at 11:05, we haven't done any segments yet. We have several segments to get
Several
through.
segments, okay.
So in 2 minutes,
That's
11:05 is when we're gonna do.
Segment numero uno.
We're gonna do memes, not because we don't have too many memes this week,
Okay.
but we'll knock that one out.
Great.
And then we're gonna do fan stuff right around 11:45. Close out the show. Yeah, because
Nice.
we need to do a segment because I'm still just waiting for this to dry.
Yeah, why don't we do it? Why don't we do a segment?
Okay. Yeah, let's do.
When you're waiting for things to dry is a great time to do a segment.
Yes. If only I could find the meme. Memes, there it is. The meme stuff. All right, memes of the week. Listen, I don't know what exactly this was. I do know that Meg likes to eat raw meat, which was.
I think that was the origin of this.
Is that what the main? I can't look at that. Because
It's hard to look at.
it's hard to look.
Yeah.
It looks like brains. Raw meat salve. Oof.
Painful.
Zach was making was he making sausages earlier?
He was making sausage. Yeah,
Yeah.
Zach
Yeah,
has a meat grinder, which was broken for a long time and is fixed. I don't know if it means he got a new one or if he was able to fix it.
Yeah. Well, he was grinding meat and Meg was just sitting there with her hands
Oh my god.
waiting for it to come out and just shoveling it. It was
What even is this?
I almost wish I hadn't seen that. Handfuls of raw meat. All right. Okay, so maybe I'll come back to this one because we need the the what's the word? Well, that previous meme won't make any sense without this one. So, if you've seen we finally put up a welcome
intro
video. Yeah, welcome
Yeah.
to the channel. And
It's a little terrifying.
it's a little scary.
If you've not seen it, don't turn off the stream to go watch it right now. But
You should watch it after this.
after the stream ends, go check it out. It's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
It leans into our low key fandom for horror movies.
I don't know what kind of meat that was that Zach was churning up.
Oh, do you think that might be part of our horror theme as well?
I suspect that might have been someone who was hobbying alone.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
No. Yeah, so
No.
that is a reference to this, yes. This is what happens when you don't hobby alone or Meg will get you.
That's right.
End up in a crater, a Dragon Ball crater. All right.
All right.
And then the last one is like, this is a video. Just go watch it.
Oh,
I can't explain it.
gosh.
Look, there's a lot of meat in this.
Yeah,
in
what
this
is
meme of the
going
week. It's
on?
not meme of the week. It's meat of the week.
Meat of the
Meat of the week.
week. So
Just go watch it.
So go ahead to Discord. There's a memes channel and check out Saray with more meat than he can
Yeah,
handle.
I was explaining my near death experience. And
Yeah,
you've made a
had nothing-
joke out of it.
Had nothing to do with meat at all. It had to
No.
do with a near death experience.
Near
that
death
was
experience.
Very traumatic for you.
Yes,
And then everyone just pile on.
I know. They're just making fun of me because I almost died.
Yeah. Come on, guys. All right. We have the OSHA training poster here. We haven't had our sensitivity training yet.
Is Heimlich maneuver on there? Actually, I don't know if it
Yeah.
is. I'll add an addendum.
Yeah. It's important.
Yeah. Okay, so the next step for me is so this is funny. In the video, he very specifically says, "I did not dry brush,"
Okay.
and that's not what I did. He says that. I'm gonna end up dry brushing.
You're gonna dry brush.
I'm gonna dry brush,
Good.
even though he specifically
We're
said don't
trying
do it.
out. Well, he didn't say don't
do it. He said
just
that's not what he
That's
did.
not what he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay to do things differently. When you see a tutorial, you're like, "Oh, that's cool." It's we're inspired by the tutorial.
Yeah.
We're not like
We're not committed to it.
100% replicating the tutorial. Okay.
What up, Meat Squad? All right, so I've got this here English uniform. Though I'm debating whether I should go with this green brown. I think the green brown's a slightly more interesting color because, well, it's got two colors in the name.
Yeah.
It's also a little bit lighter.
A little bit lighter. Okay.
Yeah.
English uniform. And that English uniform doesn't have a year range, does it?
No, it doesn't. I haven't fallen down the trap yet.
Ruins all of its credibility. Like, how do I know? Do the English still use that color? They buy Vallejo paint and barrels
Yeah.
and use it for their uniform dye?
Yes. Oh, I have a weird.
Can't imagine that's actually.
I have a weird adjacent story to that. British people, British soldiers being deployed to Afghanistan were issued like tan. But if you don't know this, Afghanistan isn't all tan. It's not like the desert. There's lots of greenery.
Yeah.
So they would dye their clothes.
Oh
They
my
would dye
gosh.
their uniforms
Wow.
green.
Sorry, can you
Yeah.
switch over to Glam Cam?
I can. Lumex, no pick. Shall I zoom?
Zoom /
I'll
focus.
Sorry. I'll zoom a little bit. Give you a little.
So this is where
Boom.
I'm at. Using this contrast over the red, orange brown, felt a lot like using like a stain on wood. So you
Yeah.
can see there's some color variation on the front there. It's not very smooth, and I was going for that.
Yeah.
After I painted it on smoothly, I very specifically unsmoothed it, and then you can see on the top here. You can see some of the color variation in the wood as well, where I sort of intentionally wiped off the dark paint color to allow some of the lighter to show through and achieve some color variation there. So all of that is intentional. I want it to look random. I want it to look different. Have some visual interest. And you can see, and this contrast over a saturated red or orange kind of does that really well. All right,
Yeah.
I'm done. You can
Okay.
switch back to front cam.
Front cam.
So my next step, front cam.
Oh, sorry.
So my
didn't
next
go.
step is going to be to add some tiny lines. So I'm basically going to go in with a light colored, probably some kind of something akin to one of these colors, sort of a khaki or bone color, and sort of hand paint on with a very fine tipped brush some little lines.
Little line. So you're adding that wood grain.
Yeah, and I don't need to do that to the top. Actually, I will with light colors, and then I will do that to the top with light colors. But the final step will be to do the same thing with dark browns, but I won't need to do that to the top because it has these dark lines already in it that the contrast sort of did for me.
Okay, sweet.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
All right, so I am breaking from the tutorial, as I said, and I am dry brushing this. The reason I'm dry brushing this is in the tutorial that he gave, he was working on a piece of wood that's much more like yours, and much like a more smooth, manufactured, man-made piece of wood, whereas I'm working on something a little more natural. It allows for more room for variation, and this is also not the last step, so a lot of this is going to end up getting covered. So I'm pretty comfortable just dry brushing for now.
One of the things, and I forgot to bring it with me, but one of the tips that that I'll do, one of the things I'll do when doing sort of really fine line work like this, is it can help, and I do this for edge highlighting too. It can help to add a little bit of acrylic retarder to your pile of paint on your palette, because when we were talking about this in Hobby Chat the other day, I think Molecule was and I were talking about this. The when you're trying to do really fine line work, your paint, and you have a small brush with a small tip, the paint will very easily dry on the tip.
Yeah.
And you have sometimes you'll have as little as 3-4 seconds of working time before the paint dries to a point where it's not actually depositing any paint on the model.
Right.
And that can be frustrating. You're going back to the palette a lot. You're having to sort of wash off, in the water, the dried paint from your brush tip, reapply. Right. And that is a lot of, it's both frustrating, but also it's time wasted that you're having to clean your brush and go back to the palette, etc. And so adding just a small bit of acrylic retarder, and this is not a hobby specific, like a Warhammer specific product. It's you just go to an art store, and it's Liquitex, which is a craft paint brand, an artist paint brand, sells acrylic paint retarder, and it allows you to just get maybe 2-3 times as much working time. It doesn't not dry. It still dries. Yeah. But you get, instead of 3-4 seconds of working time, you might get 10-15 seconds of working time. And that's just a few more lines you can paint before you have to go back. And so it saves you a lot of frustration and time and headache. Yeah. When you're doing kind of fine line work, whether that's wood grain like this or edge highlighting is, like I said, is the other thing that I'll use it for. Right. And I forgot to bring that with me today, so I'm kicking myself a little bit. I'm getting to engage in this frustrating experience.
You might be able to get away with using some of the contrast medium, because that has a longer dry time.
Okay, right. Could try that. I want to keep the coverage good though.
Yeah, it's.
So I think if you dilute the pigment.
No, I don't want to do it. Don't put too much, but. I think another thing you can do, if you don't have that on hand, airbrush flow improver.
Yes, has a little bit of that.
Yeah, has a little bit in. All right. So this is where I'm at. And it's looking okay, but it's still looking a little too alive for my taste.
Uh-oh.
So I'm going to add some gray to this. Maybe you can throw this up there when you get a chance. So this is where...
Oop. Let me scoot him over.
Yeah. Right. I don't think I can zoom anymore. You might have to bring him closer. Yeah. So this is where we're at. It's looking okay, but not quite dead swampiness that I want. Yeah. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add some grays.
That looks great, Ray.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I like that. So you deviated. Are you happy with your choice to deviate from the recipe a little bit?
Yes, I think, I didn't have all the stuff on hand anyway, so it's not a big deal. But I think the dry brushing was to my advantage here. I think doing this by brush wouldn't have amounted to much more.
Yeah. The Dryad models lend themselves really well to dry brushing.
Yeah.
We've got lots of craggy edges. It's good.
So now I'm going to do some stone gray, which is it's like a warm gray. So it's still got some, it's not it doesn't look like I'm painting stone.
Yeah.
But It does not look nearly as full of life as the last ones.
Which is what you're after with your
Yep.
with your theme. Okay.
Yep, so we're bringing this saturation down a little bit. Okay.
Looks good. So we have gotten our trees back that we did in the first part of the
Oh, yeah,
show.
should we show those off?
Yeah, that could be a fun thing to do. Meg, our airbrush fairy, did
Thank you so much for that, by the way.
a wash with a dark green
Oop, I need to zoom out a bit.
a dark green wash. Let me put this here.
Yeah, there you go.
On especially near the base. And then this guy here. Yep. Cool.
Yeah. Oops, sorry. Let me get rid of our picture.
No, I think you're fine.
There we go. Yeah, just that little bit of green really adds a ton.
Yeah. Oh, I got the white thing showing. They're actually filled. Cool. Yeah, so you can see it's a little more green hued down near the bottom, which is awesome. I like that. I like that. Cool. I like that. Looks good.
Very cool.
I'm tempted with these models to actually add some flock to try adding some flock.
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Similar to how Zach's been working, and during the journey stream, Zach's been working on some spooky terrain.
Yeah.
I think it's similar. It could have a similar neat effect to some of the terrain pieces he's been doing there.
Okay.
You just have to make sure that when you add flock to terrain, how you can end up just making a mess everywhere. 'Cause
Yeah,
it gets a lot of wear and tear when it's being stored.
Yeah. You don't that flock on the tree is suddenly flock at the bottom of your
Terrain bed.
yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's looking a lot more dead-ish, I guess is the word. Not dead, but like it looks more swamp, like it's been in a swamp.
Sure.
So the way we're gonna really crank it up is I'm gonna do two things. I'm going to grab some of this. Grab one of these pots.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna grab some of this. I might ask our airbrush fairy if she has any cotton buds I could borrow.
Oh yeah. You working with some oils?
Yes.
That's exciting.
Meg, sorry, I know you were just in here, but do you have any like cotton balls I could tear up?
Mm-hmm.
I would appreciate.
I feel like we talked about this in an earlier stream, but what does the Q and Q-tip stand for? Soups will know because I think he was
Question.
The one. Questionable.
Questionable tip.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's one of the great mysteries. A Q-tip of sorts.
Yes. So I've got this Slimy Grime Dark by AK.
This is a enamel product. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm going to just add it to a couple of areas where I think moss might.
Yeah. So this is kind of a similar effect to what we did with the airbrushing on the trees.
Yes.
You're just doing it on your Dryad model with an enamel wash.
Yeah. Oh,
Looks like
yes.
some cotton swabs have arrived.
Thank you. Oh, there's some up there. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Turns out cotton swabs
Are in the room.
are a commonly used hobby product. Yeah, I use them a lot for cleaning airbrush parts as well.
Yeah.
Super useful to have around.
Okay, so I'm just gonna. I've got some here. I'm gonna kind of feather it out and just kind of add it
Yeah.
to some areas.
You are kind of our resident expert on enamels.
Oh no, that's a big
I feel
responsibility.
like you were asking for feedback on what sort of other during your journey yesterday.
Yeah.
What other sort of tutorials people would like to see, and I wonder if folks would be interested in an
Enamel.
Enamels.
How to enamel?
how to enamel, or just maybe more generally oil.
Yeah,
oil-based,
sure. Some non-acrylic paint.
non-acrylic paints. Yeah,
Yeah, sure. That's not a bad idea.
I think it certainly was scary for me
Going in.
getting started, but seeing Andrew Whitehead's Eldar army,
Oh yeah.
was enough to push me over
You're
the
like,
edge of
that's
like,
good. Yeah.
I need to invest a little bit of time in learning this
Yeah.
technique because it can give some amazing results.
Yeah. Cool. So I'm adding this enamel to the feet. Make it look like it's creeping up his leg, or this Dryad's legs. I've also added a little bit to some areas that maybe like the chest, because that wouldn't probably have like a ton of movement.
Can you switch me over to
Lumex?
Cam?
Sure.
This is where I'm at here. So I've added
I
some.
keep doing
No, you're fine.
There we
go. I've added some white lines to the wood grain on the top of this piece, just for a little bit of visual interest, and it looks pretty stark here. I'm going to go over it with a sepia wash, and it will tone that back a little bit and kind of tie it together. But we also are sort of going for a high contrast here. We want sharp edges between really bright bits and really sort of darker bits. That's a feature. The wash will tone it back a little bit, but I don't want to tone it back a lot, just a touch. And I tried to make this kind of as random as I could. We talked about how humans are not good at making things look artificially random.
Yeah.
But this is, I don't know, I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I think it's looking great.
So that's where we're at. And I'm going to do a little bit more on the, back to front cam.
Oh, sorry. No.
I'm going to do a little bit on this, the front section of this fruit stand as well.
Sweet. All right, so I'm almost done with this part. It's not going to be dry, but you can kind of see what I'm going for here. All right.
Soups, what is a Grandmaster Flash?
That sounds very English.
I don't know. Grandmaster Flash. I'm unfamiliar with that term, Soups. I'm sure it's a pun, and I'm sure it's a joke, and I am not getting it.
All right. Maybe
I'm not shy about admitting when I don't get something. So this is still wet.
It's still wet, so it'll once it's dry, we'll get a better idea. But you can kind of see the swampy green mossiness coming through.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
Cool.
I love the white and brown, like bone color.
Yeah.
With the green, that looks great. So cool.
Yeah.
And the enamel, different from
oil, yes,
will dry quickly. Like
yes.
We're not waiting.
We're not going to be sitting here for hours.
For hours for that to dry. Okay, switch back to front.
Yep. Okay, so what I'm doing. Sorry, were you about to start?
No.
Okay.
You're good.
I'm going to rip up some of these Q-tips and soak them in
Q-tip violence.
Yes, we're committing Q-tip violence here. So I'm going to do this, kind of break these up into little strands here, and then I'm just going to soak them in.
I've never seen this technique before.
I'm kind of experimenting. I don't know if this is going to work.
This is a science show after all.
Yes. Okay, I don't... Ooh. Well, we'll see. I've started to have doubts now, but...
Okay, what's your theory?
So
walk us through your theory.
So
your hypothesis.
I'm going to cover this piece of Q-tip cloth in enamel paint.
Okay.
So it'll look like hanging moss.
Oh.
And I'm going to hang it off of the model.
Wow.
Oops! I just put. Okay, so first lesson: enamels and water don't work together.
That's a thing, yeah.
So that's one. That's your first lesson for enamel paints. We're gonna see. We're gonna see how this turns out.
Yeah, that's Wow. Okay, so this is like it's sort of like the mossy analog to how people do like the blood and gore from like hanging down from like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
monster's jaws.
exactly.
That's cool. I don't know that I've necessarily seen like a mossy version of that before. That's a neat idea. Because it's a little too fine to have, like some of the modern kits have like vines, like really thin plastic vines
Right.
molded in as part of the model, but like actual sort of individual strands of moss.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
It's a neat idea.
So I'm gonna just use my fingers, and I'm gonna have to grab one of these rags, but.
All right. Science Day, polychrome. Science Day, yeah. Science Day is officially Mondays.
That's right.
But we do a lot of science here all the time.
Yeah, we're constantly experimenting with
Yeah.
science.
We're all about the scientific method.
We're scientists. Okay, so I had the first one. The first bit of Q-tip moss I did was a bit too large.
Okay.
So the next batch is going to be a little bit smaller.
You've refined your experiment and
Yeah.
you're moving on.
Yeah. Okay. Now in the tutorial that they did, they used glue first.
Oh, like a
They
rubber
used
cement or
PVA. They PVA'd first,
PVA glue.
and
Okay.
that's probably fine. But as I was watching the tutorial, it looked very difficult to paint. So
Interesting.
I'm just soaking it in the stuff beforehand.
Grandmaster Flash is apparently a song reference.
Oh,
All right. Soups. My musical tastes have not progressed beyond the late 90s. So if it's not like a Green Day, Dookie, or Goldfinger or Real Big Fish, or a little bit of Nirvana or Guns N' Roses, like I'm
probably
not gonna get it. I'm a punk rocker at heart.
You were in a
And
punk rock
I
band.
was in a punk rock band. Yeah,
Do you guys know that?
I was the bassist. I feel like that is on brand for my personality to just be like super tall, like pretty lean physique, like white guy with like
Bass.
stupid curly hair, looking
Oh,
and
yeah.
standing in the back,
There's
being
some
like awkward and goofy.
Great pictures we've seen.
Yeah, we've been going through old photographs and like trying to figure out which ones to get digitized. Pulling them out of like photo albums and
Yeah.
stuff to clean out, make some space, and that was part of the adventure. It's going through old college, high school pictures and remembering the good old days.
All right, this is not. It's not
83. Okay, yeah. I was barely alive then and didn't really listen. I think like I didn't start listening to music until I was like, I remember I was like 14 and was like not cool at all. I was like super nerdy. And I was like, I need to do something to like have a way to have a conversation with another human being in my, like guys typically will like watch sports so that they can have a way to converse with each other, right? Like or play a hobby like Warhammer. Sorry, I'll stop bumping the table. It's something delicate. And when you're 14, that thing that you sort of find common ground with your friends before you've become friends is music. I guess now there's the internet, but like back then the internet didn't exist.
Right.
So we're like, if I don't know anything about music, I should probably like, what am I going to talk with you? Hey man, how's it going? So I consciously went to the record store, bought like 3 or 4 CDs from like the top. I went to the top 10 section and picked out a few CDs and went home and listened to them so that I could have something to talk about with people at school.
That's fun.
Yeah, I was a weird dude as a kid. Still am. We all are weird dudes,
We're
right?
all, I think we're all kind of weird
Yeah.
at
At that age.
at that age, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to. This is difficult.
Oh, wow. My paint's not drying. I've got like 12, 13, 14 little scratches down. For some reason, my paint didn't dry on my brush tip. Cool.
I need tweezers. That's what I need.
Oh.
I gotta bust out the big guns.
Going big.
Yeah. Tweezers, where are they? I see nippers.
That's different. It's decidedly different.
Decidedly
Okay. I'm getting close here on my white lines. I have a couple other train pieces that I'm excited about painting that are also wood, and I think some of those are really involved. They're like some pieces that are like the kit is super cool, and I think one of the things I unconsciously do, and have a project that involves a couple different kits, a couple different pieces, some of which are like really really neat. Is I'll intentionally do the sort of more plain pieces first as a way to like sort of practice my technique or figure out my paint
Right.
scheme or color palette or something, and then because I want to do the best job I can on the on the sort of centerpiece, whether it's terrain or model.
Right.
And so these are like the sort of easy first few pieces that I'm
Yeah.
getting my grass legs wet. No, I'm
Leg-
getting my
feet wet.
feet wet with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you figure out what's working, what's gonna work, what's not gonna work.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
I've grabbed there. Yeah, this seems much easier.
Oh, friend is in chat. Hey, friend. Good to see you around. Welcome back to the land of hobbying. I'm assuming. Have you been up to any hobbying recently? I know friend had to take a break for a while.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And even if you're not, we're glad to have
Life is
life
is like that.
that.
Okay. Can you switch me back to
I sure can.
close up cam?
1 second. Okay. Lumix.
All right. So this is where we're at now. I've applied sort of some of these light white bone colored scratches to the front, the lower sections that don't have any of the same laser cut detail in it. So my next step is both to the bottom section as well as the top is to apply now wash. So I'm going to do, all right, you can go back to front cam. Where did my wash go? Oh, here we go. So I'm going to use a sepia wash. You can use, this is like the Vallejo equivalent of like an Agrax Earthshade. It's Vallejo sepia shade. So I'm going to put this over basically the entire model, and it will both darken the wood slightly all over, but it will also sort of smooth some of the transition between the white hash marks that I just added and the base color.
Right.
All right. Let's do this.
Come on. There you go. There we go.
Okay, so I'm just bulk applying this. Not really. You can do some things when you're applying contrast and washes with sort of the directionality of your brushwork.
Mm-hmm.
If you want brush strokes to sort of add to your, you're trying to create a wood grain look. So adding some directionality is actually like having some brush strokes that stand out is actually not a bad thing. But yeah, just applying some sepia shade. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm having a little bit of trouble here.
I hear lots of like the noises you're making imply to me that you are trying hard.
Yes, I'm doing the soft grunts of exertion.
Of exertion and effort.
Yes,
Yeah,
of concentration.
I love it.
But I can show you in a moment. I think I've kind of gotten the hang of it. You're
This is
gonna
a
need
cool-
tweezers.
This is a cool technique that you're trying. I'm excited to see how it comes out.
Okay, and you drop your little piece in there. Make sure you don't lose it. I think it dissolved. Well, that one might be lost.
Does cotton swab dissolve in enamel?
It's certainly disappearing.
It's disappearing. Okay.
It's hard to keep track of.
Oh man, if I were putting this wash over the army painter contrast,
Uh-huh.
it would all just come off. This is where maybe the GW contrast or army painter second gen is adding value.
Okay. Okay. I'm having to using a knife and tweezers to try and separate this very
Oh my
thin
gosh.
strand of Q-tip.
You've
So that
got
I-
your John T-Rex arms painting technique.
Oh, yeah.
Patented paint. John, if you're watching, this is how you
This is how you paint.
this is how you
apparently.
paint a model. Yeah. Love it. Okay. So I've got my my wash applied to the whole thing, and this kind of just tones down the white hash marks as well as tying them into the rest of the model a little bit. And so the last step that I'm going to do is a dark color. I'm not going to need to do that to the top because I get those for free from the laser cut grain marks that I
Yeah.
got on the model, but I'm going to do it down here at the bottom where I don't have any laser cut detail. So I'm going to use a dark brown in this case.
Okay.
Do you have a dark brown that you like?
I have a dark rust.
Dark rust. Okay,
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
I'm gonna use that.
Yeah.
I have one, but it's one of my starter set colors again called flat brown.
Too generic.
You know, it's really. I want something that's like very very desaturated for this. I almost want like a black brown.
Right.
But this one is very chocolatey. It's very like got lots of reds and greens and like it's very sort of a saturated brown. But I know we just talked about how brown is desaturated orange, but it is weirdly like
There's really a lot of red in it.
there's a lot of red in it. Yeah, and I don't want that here. So I'm gonna use this. Looks like a great color. Just looking at it on my palette, it's exactly what I want.
Sweet.
Great. And so this is This is what color? This
Dark
is
rust.
a Vallejo Panzer Aces. What is even this?
I like we're getting closer and closer to that train model.
To the train model train. Yeah. That alternate reality where we all
Yes.
paint trains instead of grimdark future models.
Grimdark Warhams. In about 5 minutes, we're gonna do fan stuff.
Okay.
That's more a heads up to you,
That's a
but
yeah.
also chat.
But also chat. That's how you know that the show is wrapping up.
Yeah.
It means we probably don't have. Oh, we have 20 minutes left, so I need to get my hustle on.
All right, I'm gonna add a little guy right there. Oh, jeez.
Saray, you have me so curious to see what this is going to look like at the end.
It's coming out okay. It's not. It's. I thought it would be a little bit easier if I'm being honest,
Yeah.
but you know.
You don't really figure that out until they make it look so easy on the internet.
I know they have all their fancy editing. Okay.
This is what you don't see when you get to watch a hobby short, a pre-recorded VOD.
Yeah, it's all the struggle.
Is all the struggle. So I'm basically just doing the same thing I did with the light hash marks, but I'm doing it with dark hash marks.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, you know what I need to do? I need to just add some thicker paint. That'll do it.
And it's okay if you sort of cross over the light hash marks as well. because some of the light hash marks were a little bit too big in places.
Mhm.
And so if you sort of paint over the light hash marks with your dark ones, it can kind of break them up a little bit. If you have some that were sort of too big, or the brush just spent a little bit too much time in one spot, you can go back and fix that now. And we talk about that a lot, how like one sort of way to save time in your painting is know what you can fix later, what the when the next step will sort of fix problems with this step, and then you don't need to make sure that this step is perfect if
Right,
if
exactly.
the next step you'll have the opportunity to correct
To
it.
go back and fix it anyway.
Yeah. So where I had a few of my light hash marks that were too large, and looked sort of too prominent, I intentionally did not address that in the moment, because I knew that I was going to come back with this dark paint and could sort of break those up a little bit. So we're doing that here now.
I'm starting. So as I'm doing this, I mentioned the glue earlier.
Yeah.
I understand why they did that now. It's hard to get these pieces of moss to stay in place.
Oh, because the enamel's very runny. It's sort of like low surface tension.
Yeah. Well, it's just not. It doesn't want to stick to. It doesn't want to stick to the model. So.
You're essentially trying to get it to stick with paint, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Which is
maybe a futile effort, but I'm not giving up yet. I'm gonna do.
You've got 5 minutes.
Okay.
2 minutes until fan stuff, and then
I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna grab some glue.
so he's get on a quest.
I'm gonna grab my. Oh, does he have an open one? That would be better.
A vision quest. Search.
Oh, this one looks ready to go.
Is this a main quest or a side quest?
Oh, I lied. This is one of those where you thought it was a side quest.
Oh,
It
yeah.
actually ties into the main story.
Right, I see. Okay. I feel like everything in life can be conveyed in terms of Baldur's Gate.
Zach's
Right?
favorite game.
Is this? Yeah, I know. I'm like, I just transitioned from Act 1 to Act 2, and I'm excited. It's been a fun journey so far. I look forward to the evenings when I'm like, I don't have anything I need to do. I can just like hang out and
play some
BG. BG, yeah. It's a fun romp. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I now understand also why people have said that they're like are sad as they're sort of coming to the end of their run.
Yeah.
And are trying to like sort of drag it out for as long as possible.
Understandable.
Have you experimented with multiplayer at all?
Yes, actually, I've got a little campaign going with Holly.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun. It is a lot of fun. Okay. Oh, I figured it out. You just got a little bit of glue.
Turns out glue is good advice.
Glue, I see why they did it now.
The dry brushing, no dry brushing, was that also good advice?
No, dry brushing is fine. Dry brushing is totally cool. All right. Okay, I lied. I know we said 11:45. I'm gonna do one more, and then we'll go.
Okay.
Let me do one more little guy, so I can throw this over there to dry. Okay. And so, like, just to, in case people don't know what I'm doing, I'm trying to add little hanging moss.
Yeah. This is gonna really just be a cool effect. Like if you want to, we talk about how sometimes like the way to push for best painted is to have some like one weird modeling gimmick on your army. Like
Yeah.
display board or like LEDs or something dumb like that.
Yeah. This is it.
This is that one weird thing.
Hanging moss.
Hanging moss. Yeah. Has nothing to do with painting ability, but if you want to win best painted,
it's painted.
maybe you
Maybe you add a little.
add some hanging moss to your models.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to show off where I'm at.
Okay. I can also do that.
You can as well.
Maybe if we have a little bit of time, I'll add
Sure.
a couple more. But let me just go. So your Lumex.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I've added some dark hash marks to the lower section here.
Very cool.
So you can see that. I think you could kind of do maybe another wash over this to kind of tie it in a little more, but I'm kind of into this. This is great.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna put little fruit baskets on here, so it'll break it up a little bit even more.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Oh God, no! I screwed it up right at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'll throw this up there. I'll adjust this at the very
Okay.
end. You can kind of see what I'm doing now. Yeah, I pulled off the big piece right as I was trying to hand it over on accident. But you can kind of see the hanging moss there.
From the top, right?
Yeah, at the top there's also one off of his left shoulder, or if you're looking at it, the right shoulder.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Green hanging moss. All right, it's time for fan stuff though. Oh, thank you, Super Edie, for the. Oh
That
wait,
looks
let me
great.
make sure we're not missing anything because we were not looking. Oh geez, we missed a big one.
We missed all the things.
Oh my God, sorry, chat. Okay, did we get Ron Bananas? Okay, Ron Bananas, thank you for the 5 memberships. We may have
Yeah.
gotten that one.
Yep.
John McCardle, thank you for the huge 20. Thank you. That is very.
Coming in big. Yeah. Thank
appreciate
you, John.
that.
And as a member now, make sure to check out on Friday. We'll have a members only stream.
Yeah.
For special. We talked about this earlier, but Friday the 13th, Meg's going to be doing a spooky members only stream.
Yeah.
On Friday. Check that out.
Yeah, John, I will be ordering those Mark III next week for sure. And thank you, Super Edie, for the gifted membership.
Ooh, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Sniped Jim Jam.
Okay, let's do fan stuff.
Cool.
What?
Yeah, let's see it.
All right,
Polychrome.
Polychrome.
Doing some Titanicus. Back on the Titanicus train.
Yes, he's got his big little Titan here.
Speaking of enamels and oils, this is his primary medium working with these guys.
Yeah,
He's done a ton of really awesome weathering with enamels and oil products here.
yeah, super
great.
cool.
Looks so good.
All right.
Polychrome, I'm curious, have you ever done a 40K scale Titan
Full
before?
CL 28 mil.
Yeah, because I would love to see that.
Or even a night, honestly.
Even a night, yeah.
Yeah.
Would love to see it.
Love to see.
Awesome job.
Okay. This is Cedric Cody. Super cool. I'm going to say probably Kingdom Death.
Yeah, Cody continuing his work on Kingdom Death. This looks amazing, especially after we just did our skin Kingdom Death stream a few weeks ago. I love that the face here is kind of the highlight for me.
Yeah.
The face and hair looks
and hair.
so good on this model.
Yeah.
Great
Really
job,
incredible
Cody.
work.
Yeah.
Big fan. Also nice lantern. And good base too. Chris, oh man, this was amazing.
Yeah.
Chris likes to paint painting some Dark Angels. This is speed painted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did he use an airbrush for this?
Yes, he did use an airbrush,
Okay.
but his whole goal was less than 2 hours per.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean it's incredible.
Looks so good.
Yeah. Especially when I point out the face. Face is incredible. We should maybe make these a little bit bigger. I don't know why it came out so small.
Yeah.
But the face is really incredible. You should go check it out on the Discord. Super good.
It looks so good. Yeah. I'm curious, Chris, are you planning, is this just exploration for you, or are you intending to do a full Dark Angels army?
Yeah.
I'm curious what your long-term plan is with these guys, because this is not his first model in this scheme.
No.
He's done a
Yeah,
couple.
he had some other nice plasma
Yeah.
up there. This is no, that's not Westy 2024. This is GT probably. So he's got some dire wolves here for
This
AOS.
is Mordheim, I think.
Is it Mordheim?
I think he's doing I think they're doing a Mordheim band, war band. of
Oh,
some
okay.
kind. And I think he's got like a couple different model ranges in there as well.
Yeah. Super. You know what? I don't know why everything looks so small. I'm gonna pump these up.
Pump it up.
People spent a lot of time painting these, and we want to make sure we're showing them off.
That looks good.
We'll go back through the other ones.
Very nice.
Yeah. Super nice. Also, I think he said this is not a GW model. That
Right.
it's I forget what he said it was. All right. This is Mini Painter 9000. Super cool Tyranid. That weird flesh gun is just perfect.
Yeah, this was this. Yeah, I'm curious. I'd be curious also on this one to understand. Is this a full army or is this? 'Cause I think they posted this picture in response to another person's question about looking for inspiration for Tyranids. So I'd love to see like a full army photo if you've got a shot of some bigger bugs or something like that. 'Cause
So,
this is a really neat paint scheme.
I know he has at least one. I know they have at least one other one. So
Right.
good chance that this is an army.
Yeah, very cool.
Very cool. Broken Chef, super cool. Harbinger is the Harbinger of Death, Harbinger of Decay. Excuse me. I should know. I'm building one of these right now.
This is an AOS model.
Yes, it's an AOS model. I think it's one of the best models GW's ever made.
What? There's so much cool detail there.
It's so good.
Yeah, and this would be a great model. I think Broken Jeff was also looking for some critique on this one.
Yeah,
Um,
which we should probably mention.
yeah. If I were like this technique that Saray was doing today with the moss
Yeah.
would look really cool on this guy.
Yeah.
Like especially considering the tone and vibe of the base. There's already some moss molded into the plastic.
Yeah.
But if you could sort of amp that up and take it to the next level with some cotton strands
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and glue,
and
that
glue.
would be,
Don't forget
that
the
would
glue.
be cool.
Yeah. Super cool. Really love this.
Yeah.
This is Haley's Red Comet. I don't know. Is this? It looks like Kingdom Death.
Kingdom Death as well.
Feels
yeah.
Kingdom Death.
Kingdom Death. Yeah.
But yeah, super cool. Great skin. Great color. I don't
So
know what's
good.
that. Is that like the thing she's holding? That like orb.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, and the paint job on the eye, it's
Yeah.
like it has
Sauron.
Sauron.
Yeah, green
vibes.
Sauron
Yeah,
vibe.
that's right.
Super cool.
But it's like sort of a cat eye, which goes well with the fact that it's like cat ears.
Yeah, she's
on her hood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's like
Nice
a
tie-in.
subtle tie in there. Yeah.
This is Westy 2024 Noah.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Invisible orcs.
Yeah.
They're
or naked orcs, I guess.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
still see the green skin, but
That's
the
right.
purple is
Purple is the color of invisibility. So,
yes.
there's not a, there's some weird naked orcs on the screen
Yeah.
here. Now this is a work in progress shot,
Yes.
and these are coming along great. It's been really neat to see their progress photos over the last week or two.
Yeah.
This is coming along really great.
Yeah, and you can kind of see it in the background there. The shark, great
Yes.
white shark, super, very well done, and just super cool. Works really well with the scheme as well.
Amazing.
This is Jupiter. This is also work in progress, but so I didn't actually catch what this was. Is this a stand-in for a Squiggoth?
Yeah, and I think the model is it a Lord of the Rings model?
I think
the
so.
mammoth. Yeah.
Jupiter, if you're in here, let us know.
Yeah, it's a proxy or a kit bash,
Uh-huh.
but I don't know what the sort of what rules they're going to use
Yeah.
to play it as. Yeah,
Pink elephant, very cool.
I'm super curious to see where this ends up.
Yeah.
Also,
Isn't
some of
that-
these
isn't
work
that a
in
reference-
progress shots are amazing.
Yeah, pink elephants. Winnie the Pooh. Isn't that also like a reference to drinking too much? Anyway, I don't actually know. There's pink elephants, the whole thing. Soups with a super cool dice tower.
Dice Tower. Yeah.
Yeah.
Soup's a D&D player, and doing some dice rolling.
Yeah. I'm here for
Awesome.
it. I love it. Super, very ornate. Very cool.
Love it.
3D printed, I believe. Yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a neat design.
I don't think that's GW.
Yeah.
This is Saul. Yeah. Saul's painting a bunch of Gargants.
Yeah.
And this was I just chose this one because I really like it.
Number one done. Yeah.
Yeah. King Broad,
It's
correct?
been super cool watching Saul's journey, going from getting back into the hobby, picking up a bunch of Gargants as after doing a bunch of research on which factions he might like in both
Yeah.
AOS and 40K, and then sort of committing to painting these models. So he's got a massive pile. I can only imagine a massive pile of gray plastic that
Yeah.
can be very intimidating for a lot of people. And so
Yeah.
seeing him sort of buckle down and get to painting and building has been very inspirational. So,
Yeah. Very.
great job on this first Gargant.
Yeah.
So, and you can see a bunch of techniques here that he's picked up from some of the other streams, the metallics that we did, and the
Yeah, he's working on a dark skin
contrasts,
recipe from our skin episode. Yeah,
Yeah,
super
yeah.
cool. All right, so that is all of them. I do want to just go back and give people the proper, like, you should see these in full.
full size.
So yeah, we did go through these already. Just want to make sure people. Yeah, look at that, so good. Yeah, please check out the Discord if you want to have your stuff shown off here.
Yeah, for sure.
Stuff like that. All right, we are coming to the end. We have 3 minutes. Let's see. Can I get this final piece
Sure.
on before?
You want me to hand it back to you?
Yes,
All right, here you
please.
go. So I'm going to do one more wash
Sweet.
before we do wrap up, and then we'll call it a show.
Call a show. Let you guys know what we're doing later this week. It is a busy one.
Yeah. What is should we talk? Well, let's talk. We can talk about that.
We'll talk about the very end.
All
So
right.
actually, something I do want to mention. So concerning fan stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So fan stuff is going to be. We're going to be making it a Sunday only
Yep.
thing, and on Wednesdays, we're going to be doing live critique. So if
This
you
is such a cool idea.
yes, so if you want your work, either work in progress, your work finished, if you want to throw it up in the critique channel, we might choose it to be critiqued live.
Yep.
And you can still go in the critique channel if you don't want it critiqued live. Just make sure you put not for stream or I don't want this critiqued on stream. That's also perfectly fine. You can just get your feedback on Discord. But if you want to have
If you
it
specifically would like it
critiqued,
live on the air,
yes, just
whoever is on the show that day will
Yep.
give you whatever feedback you have requested. So I
Yes.
think an important part of this is make sure you request a specific type of feedback.
yeah,
When you post the photos.
Yeah.
So that we can tailor our commentary to whatever it is you're specifically looking for help with.
yes. And that, I mean, if you do just want an overall, that's fine too.
Yeah.
But like,
It'll be easier for us to give you the feedback you're looking for if you can
Yeah.
help us out by giving us a little bit of idea of what you're looking to
a
improve
little
on.
bit of direction
Yeah.
of what you're looking for.
And this will be neat because on Sunday it's just a lot of us oohing and awing over your awesome paint jobs, which is fun, but in the spirit of continuous improvement and science that
Science,
we like
yes.
to espouse here at the Hobby Collab, we are would like to sort of have this public forum for critique and improvement.
Yeah.
And so that's a cool. I'm excited about this actually. When
Yeah.
we were talking about this internally, I was like, this is a great idea. And very much in the vibe of the show.
Yeah. All right, I'm throwing my last piece on. There. Oh, get in there. Last piece of moss.
Last piece.
Gotta bring it down.
All right.
Almost. Okay, well,
Cool.
come on. The glue is, there we go. If it'll stick. There we go.
Fingers crossed.
Okay.
You got
there
it.
we go.
We did it.
Sorta. All right, so you can throw that over there.
Yeah. Hold it by the base.
Yep.
Oh, that looks great. Yeah.
All right. Let's show you what we're doing. Zoom out a little bit. Get rid of our dumb faces. All right. Look at all that wood, y'all.
That looks great. Wow.
Okay. So good.
Can you zoom in a little more?
Yeah, I can zoom in.
Yeah, nice.
So you can see the we started off with these big trees, right? You've got this variation of red and green,
Yeah.
kind of mixing to brown, orange, and even a little yellow. That green coming up the sides of the trees to show that like a little bit of moss. We've got our manufactured wood in this fruit stand, which will probably get run over. Oh, sorry, we're having ads. We're skipping them. Sorry about that. We're back. We skipped the ads, people. We've got our manufactured wood with a fruit stand that if there's a car chase is definitely going to get hit.
Definitely getting it. And
Yeah.
there's going to be apples all over the
Fruit
place.
all over the place.
Yeah.
And then we've got our little dryad here who we, experimented with some, making them look a little swampy, adding some
enamels.
Yep, hanging moss.
Yeah.
Kind of see it hanging around there.
That looks great. We did, so we got 3 completely different
Yeah.
techniques for 3 completely different types of wood.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you have thoughts, if you're watching this later as a VOD or even if you're joining us in chat for other sort of types of wood styles,
Yeah.
leave notes down in the comments.
Yeah.
There's 100 different kinds of wood. There's so many different types of wood out there, and they all there's a bunch of different ways you can make it look different and interesting.
Yeah, there's a million techniques.
Yeah, it's a lot of different variability
Yeah.
options. Cool. Thanks for
Okay.
joining us, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to make sure we didn't miss anything. Make sure we're all good. Super Edie, we did get yours. Okay, cool.
Coming up this week. Okay,
so tomorrow, our usual Grim Dark lunch.
At
And
noon.
Yep, at noon. Mondays in the Mortal Realms as well.
At 4:30.
Yep.
And then Wednesday.
Wednesday we're doing. Well, I'm not doing it. It's gonna be Meg and Zach are painting Endless Spells.
Yep.
Then Thursday should have our next long form tutorial. I say long form, it's about 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Next tutorial coming out, in-depth tutorial.
Tutorial VOD.
As we mentioned, Friday, no Zach journeys. This is a Meg pit stop journeys, painting something very spooky.
Spooky themed for
Yep.
Friday the 13th. Yeah.
Yep. And then we'll see you guys soon.
So that's what's coming up this week. Yeah.
Yep. Alrighty.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye bye.